Hi, Mario. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So I think we have two questions from our Facebook group. So let's try to assess that right now. So let us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can see
So wonderful. So let's say there is this particular gentleman who is anonymous, has.
you. Ranjeet, you're on mute.
Okay, I don't know what's happening today. Let's. We have to. Again, there is a challenge which is happening. Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Now we have certain questions that are popping up here that will say that criteria IEEE senior membership not met, research articles not met, review judge not met, original contribution met, which is very, very interesting, and critical role not met. Somebody has 1,200 citations, job in a university, 40 plus articles, 15 plus as a lead author or article index in Web of Science. Um, no, I mean, let us not say in my office. In my view, the officer has not checked the evidences for rest of the claims. He has declared all evidence. Most of them were already submitted, and the person wants, and there are multiple kind of comments which are there. Now, I mean, let's look at it. How I would view this particular case is as follows. I would feel that if the I mean, I think it's a matter of presentation, not the profile. That's my first take, Mario, here in this particular case. And the second thing, I mean, after having studied over 1,000 cases and after having met at least 100 plus achievers, 40 of them are from our own program, I would say that this particular case has more of a presentation issue actually rather than the profile related matter here. I would strongly kind of urge this person to kind of make sure that the evidence are more persuasive, because there is something called as burden of persuasive, which is upon the person. So what this person, gentleman, needs to do, or a lady needs to do is, I would suggest that the criteria which have even original contribution being made, because I think I have first time, uh, I think I have never seen that original contribution being met and the case getting rejected. I think I have always said this before. So there is a good chance that the person will get through EB1. I think what one needs to do in this particular case is present the narrative along with the all proper strong evidences. For example, the critical role. What are the letters? What is the has something called scope of authority, rare skill sets, and the impact has been given, and how it is beneficial to the company and to the vision of the company. I think there are very strong letter of recommendations which would be required to tackle for each and every criteria once again. And above that, one of the key aspects that one needs to look into is whether the expertise has been properly highlighted and the relevance of that expertise to the US. Remember, you don't get EB1A because you're fulfilling criteria. You get EB1A because you're expert in certain discipline. Your expertise is beneficial to the USA, and third, that you will continue in the field of expertise. So across all the criteria, these three things have to continuously emerge. If you are able to do that, then it would make sense. If you don't do it, it won't make sense. Let's be very, very clear about it. I think this case is, according to me, a very promising, and one should not lose hope, and one can do that. If you need any more help, I will be kind of happy to do it. So this is about this particular case. There is one more interesting case before we move to our viewers' question. Um, I think, hi everyone, I got RFE for original contribution and my peer review and publications are approved. I think Chen is an advocate, possibly. Recommends to add new categories like high salary and critical role now. What do you suggest? I think if your advocate is feeling that you should do it, I would rather always feel that you should go with it. If you have a good salary and it is blended with the critical role, I think it's a very kind of apt advice. Let me put it this way. Again, I'm saying that if RF is for original contribution, I would always be concerned, unlike the previous case where original contribution was approved. So if the original contribution is approved, I think it's a very strong case. If original contribution is being questioned, it means that either you have to get some more expert opinion letters, more impact has to be kind of given, and that's the way it would be. So that would be my take, Mario, actually on this. So
Absolutely.
let's take up our regular questions, and I'm kind of editing this screen right now. Wonderful. So what are the other questions, Mario?
Yeah, of course. So one of our questions today that I think we should highlight is from Anonymous, but they asked, how do you ensure that the profile building process remains ethical, organic, and aligned with the USCIS expectations?
Yes, I think there are a lot of concerns. Many people have been expressing, even the attorneys have been expressing that there are some couple of noise which have come up, which is notice of intent of revocation, because the person felt that the alignment of the evidences were not in order. And there is something very interesting here that kind of came up, which indicated that if you have fabricated some evidences or manufactured some evidences solely for the purpose of EB1A, there is a very subtle line dividing between what constitutes. There are three dimensions. There is something called as legal, there is something called as ethical, and there is something called as a more from a moral perspective. Actually, you basically truly want to become extraordinary in your own right, and that's what we try to promote, always promote in our next week program. Now, if you are talking about profile remains ethical, basically you have to, when somebody joins the program, we always tell them that don't keep an eye on the criteria at all. Focus on your profile itself. You can use the template that USCIS has defined what constitutes extraordinary, but at a broader level, try to get onto a path of truly becoming an expert in your field. We can, based on your past work or whatever one may have done, we try to kind of reverse engineer certain kind of an expertise that can get evolved. Okay, but remember one thing. Number one, you can remain ethical by a couple of things. Number one, you have to ensure that all the work that you are talking about, and it's a very fundamental level, that you are doing it yourself. Actually, it's not being concocted or somebody else doing it for you, or manufactured or fabricated, as we call it, should not be there. The second thing is enhance on a path of becoming an expert in your field and contributing to the USA. If you're, I think, focusing on these two things fundamentally, I don't see any challenge for anybody to kind of USCIS to have a doubt. And yes, your profundity of your expertise has to be well established. If you're looking at things, I think fundamentally focusing on these two or three things, I would say is a good way of ensuring that you're not only from a legal standpoint, but even from an ethical and moral standpoint, your compass is well established actually. So as long as your ethical compass is in the right direction, your moral compass is in the right direction, I think the legality will automatically follow. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was well said. So we have another question from Anonymous. I think will be kind of interesting. I feel like you've already kind of answered a little bit through the case studies, but how do you assess an applicant's existing achievements and kind of determine the most compelling narrative for their EB1A profile?
Okay, I love this question, and this helps to summarize whatever we have spoken. Number one is your you are not focusing on the criteria. Okay. Number two, you are focusing on expertise. You have the benefit to the United States. And number two, benefit to the United States and your continuity. As long as you're focusing on this, I think your narrative will be very strong. And I've seen that. There's another aspect to it that finally, I always tell people, Mario, that, talking about EB1A, actually, I know EB1A application is akin to you're talking to President Trump. Saying that, okay, I'm Mario, this is my expertise, this is what I have for the United States, and I will continue this my expertise in the field of endeavor. So this is an underlying commitment that you're giving to President Trump, and this is how it should, the vibration of your entire profile, your narrative should sound like. You cannot talk to USCIS or for that matter President Trump and say that I fulfill this criteria, these are my citations, this is what I'm doing. give me EB1A and write on the green card that I'm person of extraordinary ability. No, it won't work like this. So one needs to be very, very kind of. I mean, it's a you see EB1A is all about the impact that you create. It's not about you. What are your qualifications? What's your what's your knowledge, or what is your experience? Because if it is knowledge, then you have EB1B. If you have experience, then there is EB1C, and both of them at a minuscule level, at a little micro level, will be EB2. But for EB1A, you don't need a job, you don't need any qualifications, you don't need any degrees. Also, at the same time, not any monetary consideration is there except for the filing fees, which is mentioned there. Then, how do you come out with this narrative that how you are benefiting the USA? It is only because of your impact that you create. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I think that was well said. A lot of, just actually really focus on your expertise rather than trying to, check these boxes that the USCIS laid out.
Absolutely. So what's the next question?
Yeah, of course. So our next question is from Anonymous. So for professionals without prior publications or media recognition, what strategies do you recommend to build a credible authority within their field?
That's a nice question, actually, because what happens, people believe that, again, this is the challenge with this particular question is that you are trying to fit yourself into criteria. There are a lot of people in this world who are truly extraordinary in their expertise. They are contributing to the US. Whether they are looking for green card or not, or EB1A green card or not, does not matter. But the core aspect here is that that the benefit to the US has to be explicit. And by the way, let's say, for example, you are a let us say a security expert. You may not need media. You see, many people believe that by trying to fit themselves into the criteria, they would be kind of let's say, for example, they are trying to meet EB1A criteria, which is not the case. Because at times people end up doing something or believing in certain things which may not be required at the first place. For example, many people forget media or this thing. Many people believe that they need to have citations, research papers. You don't have to do that, and this is where. You mentioned that. I think this also relates to the earlier question, Mario, wherein you mentioned that, how can I maintain ethics? I think the ethics is also to do a lot to do with doing something what is really required. Why you want to go for citations and buying publications and buying patents if you don't need them at the first place? If your field of expertise does not warrant that. So the best way to look at it is something like what I did. Actually, I must share with you that once my niche, or let's call it expertise, was established. Okay, look at a profile, create a persona. Let's say create a persona. How would the best or the top 1% in that field of expertise would look like? Okay, let's say, for example, my own expertise was financial education and regulations. Okay, now if that being the case, if that is my expertise, can I be the best in that? What are the metrics required to be the best in that? You have to justify those metrics. You have to tell USCIS that, well, this is my field. We had a gentleman whose expertise was, software performance testing for healthcare. Now, in healthcare, what is the benefit of this expertise to the USA? Okay, what happens if, US doesn't get this expertise? What are the limitations? That's the way your narrative starts get building up. And maybe you don't need, for a software performance testing, you may not need research papers to an extent where a research scholar would require somebody, let us say, for example, somebody is a healthcare expert or a clinical trial expert, because there is a research required in that. So at times, somebody is, let us say, in business. For example, somebody is an entrepreneur and applying for EB1A. You don't need that, actually. So for them, maybe media is required. Then you have to build up your profile, and journalists will publish something about you only if it is relevant and newsworthy. What is it that you have done that is newsworthy? That's the question that you have to ask. And this all gets integrated to the fact that it will be related to your ethics, legality, and how strong is your moral compass. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I definitely appreciate you hitting on the fact, don't go out of your way to, buy things that aren't going to be, helpful to you, and just don't do it in general. Build your profile, the organically and ethical way. That's the only way you're going to be able to achieve this for yourself. So absolutely.
Absolutely. And I see, let's take this last question, which I think I just got from you. What are the most common mistakes do you see EP1A aspirants make when they're trying to build their profiles and how they can avoid them? Number one mistake people would do is choosing a wrong expertise. Okay. So many people believe that it is related to their jobs, that it is related to their qualifications, or it's related to their degrees, or it's not about that. Your expertise can be redefined by virtue of the impact that you have done, not by virtue of your qualification of your business titles. Somebody's title could be totally different. That's the reason where even you go for salary criteria or something. I mean, at times we have seen even the SOC code won't matter, because SOC codes are typically produced for wages, actually, not for the salary criteria for EB1A. Let's be clear. We have even seen in the program people have used 0000 as the SOC code if they have got their EB1As. That's the best way to look at it actually here. So you don't have to change the criteria at all. That's my first, take. That's the first mistake. The second mistake people do is that by choosing wrong expertise, they go for wrong criteria. Okay, oh, I need citations, I need this. They just have, just going in the rut actually. So that would be second mistake people would do. And if they go for wrong criteria, then they chase wrong criteria, which is in the nurture phase what we have actually, that they would just kind of try to do something which at the first place they don't have to do it. If you are a research oriented person, then you definitely need the research for this particular purpose. You need to write papers. I did not have any research papers, 0 citations. I still may not have any actually. So that does not make make me less worthy or anybody else in the program to be less worthy if you don't have. The question is, are you in the top of your field so as to, your expertise gets defined, and then it is beneficial to the US and you will continue in the work. From that perspective, it's pretty straightforward, I would say. May not be, I don't want to use the word simple here, but it is a pretty straightforward, and following a straight path is always kind of challenging at times for people. You see, extraordinary, the word sometimes seems very overwhelming. Extraordinary ability green card is extraordinary ability in the context of EB1A green card is not about crossing the frontier of humanity, crossing the frontier of human excellence. Let's put it that way. That is not, it has been defined as actually. It has been defined that you have arrived, you have kind of, you are at the top, say 1% or 10% in your field of expertise. Now, how do you prove that? There is a marked difference between the two definitions what we have. If the law stated that extraordinary ability is defined as something which has crossed the excellence of human frontier, and then it would have been very challenging. It means that you have to be the best amongst the best amongst the best. You have crossed the human frontier. They're not talking. You see, the whole idea of a law is, this is not an award. EB1A is not an award. The purpose of EB1A is to kind of attract the best people in the world to the US. The EB1A has not been created that you have to be like a Nobel Prize winner solely. Nobel Prize is that's why the Nobel Prize, Oscar, or Olympic, that's one of the kind of elements which have been given, they are mentioned there. But that's not the end for all. That's not something that, of course, if you want to aim for that, one can definitely do that. But that's not the goal for granting you EB1A. You can get it by other means also. So I think that's what I would like to say, Mario. And I think, guys, if you have more questions, put up in the EB1A Aspirants group. We'll be happy to take up on the Saturdays also like this. And then we have had 2 cases. Unfortunately, they got RFEs, but I'm very sure that if you put up the your presentation in a right manner, you would get, and we'd like to hear the news about you that you got your EB1A. Our best wishes and blessings are with you. And if you have more questions, please write to us. And if you want to join the next week program and kind of enhance your profile, kind of make a persuasive case for yourself, please kind of reach out to Mario or I. We'll be more than happy to help you in the link given. So thank you, Mario, for having me, and wish you all the best.
Same to you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.